The guys that did not participate were Jordan Morgan and Carrington Valentine. Limited were Kenny Clark, Josh Jacobs, Elton Jenkins, Tucker Kraft, Jordan Love, Josh Myers, Jaden Reed, Zach Tom, and Rasheed Walker.
What was that?
Limited. Limited. That's all you're going to get from me. Limited. All those guys. Kenny Clark, Josh Jacobs, Elton Jenkins, Tucker Kraft, Jordan Love, Josh Myers, Jaden Reed, Zach Tom, and Rasheed Walker.
Was it a good step, though, that Jordan was able to at least go in pads today?
Yeah, I think every day is a good day for him to get out there and be out there with his teammates. And same as every week, we'll give him up till kickoff or 90 minutes.
Go pads today so that he would have a chance to work out yesterday and then, have.
No, that wasn't the reason behind it. I just thought where we were coming off a pretty physical game, the injury list, I thought it was best to cut back a little bit yesterday, and then we'll push them today.
And as much as I enjoy this cat and mouse game, how much does it matter if a quarterback gets team reps in a week in which he's going to play or not?
Well, I think it always matters. Everything you do matters. So in a perfect situation, your starting quarterback gets as many reps as possible.
Will he practice tomorrow?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure he'll be limited.
Matt, Sermons was talking yesterday about something he calls the cheetah effect with Josh Jacobs, how he keeps his arms out to balance himself because he runs so aggressively, but that can lead to worse ball security. He's obviously fumbled the first 2 weeks.
I never heard Ben talk about that. It's interesting.
Does Josh need to carry the ball differently to keep it secure?
Ben usually talks about gorilla glue and putting your elbow and gluing it to your rib cage. So never heard of the cheetah effect. So I can't even remember what your question was. I'm so enamored by this cheetah effect.
Josh Jacobs need to carry the ball differently to avoid some of these.
I think a lot of guys can get loose with the ball in open field. It's just what do you do around contact? I mean, I think one of the best was Sean McCoy. I mean, he was all over the place with the ball, but he didn't fumble very much. And so I think every runner's a little bit different. Every ball carrier's a little bit different. But you gotta make it a priority is our thing around here, because we know there's not many things more important than the ball. So he carries it for everybody. He understands. He's had 2 fumbles in 2 games. There's going to be a bullseye on him, and that's just the way it is. If you put the ball on the ground, then they're going to come after it.
How much more comfortable are you putting Emanuel Wilson out there for double-digit touches than you were maybe a couple months ago?
A lot more comfortable. I think he's done a good job, and he continues to get better. And when given opportunities, I think he's maximized those. So for him, it's just about being consistent, down in and down out, and making sure you're doing all the little things on a day-to-day. But I've got a lot of confidence in he.
You don't have Jordan Morgan. Has Sean responded to the conditioning issue to the point where you feel good about him going the whole route, or do you have to look at rotating someone with him?
I think everything's on the table, but it seems to me that he's been better, and you would expect that going into his 3rd year now. So, but I think we're open. We're always open for competition, and whether it's on the offensive line or anywhere on the field, we're comfortable rotating a lot of players, and we've done that at multiple positions, and we'll continue to do that. And the idea is just to get the best out of each and every individual. And if they know that they're fighting for playing time, I think they're going to be on top of their game a little bit more.
You talked about that earlier in the week. I'm curious, is that a new idea that obviously you've always talked about competition, but the actual idea of playing more guys, is that something that you've kind of started to do more as you've gotten a younger team and gotten more experience as a coach, or how has that kind of evolved?
I think you got to have the people that you trust in order to put in there, and I think we have probably a deeper roster than we've had. And so most of these guys aren't first-year players, so they've gotten more experience and they've earned those opportunities. So I think the more you can do that, you talk about player development, the best way to develop players is to get them out there and play.
I'm not sure there's a lot of punters in this league that could be qualified as an actual weapon, the way that Daniel was last week. Does it change the way you strategize a game, you approach a game when you have one of those guys at that position?
I wouldn't say that necessarily, no. I mean, it potentially could if you're facing some adverse conditions or just however the flow of the game is. But going into it, I would say no. It's just nice to know that when you need a guy to go flip the field, you got a guy.
So it's not like you're any less willing to go for a fourth down because you got this punter that can put him in, can put him in the spot.
Not necessarily, no.
Defensive front focused on keeping Hurts and Richardson in the pocket. Do you get the sense that they're itching to let it rip in these coming weeks?
Yeah, I think every game. I think you got to be careful with Will Levis too. I mean, I mentioned to somebody the other day about those. He had a couple of big-time scrambles against the Jets, and he is fully capable of moving the chains with his legs. And I think that's just kind of becoming commonplace with a lot of these quarterbacks. They're more athletic, and they're able to get out of the pocket, and they can take off and run. So you better be disciplined with your rush lanes. You got to be coordinated. And I think the best rushes in this league are typically that. They work together. You got four guys working as one. That's usually when your rush is the best.
What's the challenge for your run game with Sweat and Simmons in the middle of their defense?
Well, they're giants, and they do a good job. They're both athletic. But I think it's just the totality of the defense. I think, you look across the board, the majority of their players are veteran players that have played a lot of ball, and they've got a good scheme. So it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Matt, what does it do for your offense when you can put a tight end on the field who's pretty good at both blocking and receiving?
A complete tight end? Yeah, I would say that definitely benefits you. I think a lot of these guys there's just not as many of them anymore that can do both. So that's a great luxury.
Now, what do you think it is about Tucker? Because when you look back at the beginning of last season, right, he didn't play much at all as he was transitioning, and now it's like his arrow has been at a very high vertical angle. What has changed with him?
Well, I think it's just he's learned the game and he's gotten acclimated to this level. I mean, I don't care going from where he came from to the NFL. That's a large jump. It's a big jump wherever you go to college, but especially at South Dakota State, and it takes time for these guys, and some guys pick it up faster than others. But I think it's just a credit to him and just his approach. He loves ball, and he gets better every day. He works his tail off. He works it off in the weight room and on the practice field, in the meeting room. I think John Dunn does a great job with those guys. And we had competition. I think that, again, with him and Luke and Ben Sims, it's just all those guys are pushing each other to get better each and every day. And I think when given the opportunity last year, I know Luke was kind of led us in snaps at that position until he got banged up, and Tuck took advantage of it, and he's done a great job with it.
Not that you wouldn't be working on it regardless, but is it too early to be concerned about the red zone offense just because it's just so few opportunities and numbers can get skewed pretty quickly one way or the other?
Oh yeah, we had a long discussion about that last night in terms of you always go back and you evaluate, and when I look at it, we've had a lot of opportunities that we have not capitalized on, and some of it was self-inflicted, and some of it, the defense played a play the right way. But in order to get better in the red area, we got to stop having penalties in the red area. We've had way too many mistakes and missed stops when we've been down there. So we're going to continue to work hard on that and grind at the details. But we've got to go out there and execute much better.
Two more, please. Have you seen a technique issue with Rasheed Walker on some of those holds, or it just holds?
Absolutely. Usually it comes down to technique. You know, I know the one on Josh Jacobs' touchdown run. I mean, his aiming point wasn't right. He was too flat, and that allowed the defender to get over the top. He should have been able to pin him easily, and we would have been around the edge. And I expect him to make those necessary adjustments. He's been a really good and consistent player for us, and he's still a relatively young player, but and he'll get better and he'll learn from it.